Is the Shure SM58 a good microphone for doing interviews? Today's episode, I'm going to tell you what I think. What's up, fam? Welcome back to Leveling Up with CMH. I'm CMH. Want to talk to you guys today about the Shure SM58. I just did an episode where I was comparing the Shure SM7B, which is my other microphone that's right in front of me right here, with the Rode NT, which is the microphone that I used previously. So there's another microphone that I use, and I'm going to be doing several other episodes about different microphones just so you can kind of hear a difference. And I'll let you make a decision. I'll give you the pros and cons of each. And what I'd like to do is compare the sound with the SM7B. So the SM7B, as that video, so you guys can hear that before with the Rode NT, I'll include that above. This has been considered like the holy grail of audio content for voice, right? Specifically for podcasting. So I'll compare all of these with the SM7B so you can actually hear the difference. Otherwise, what I think is that you're going to listen to this and be like, that sounds great, but you don't have a reference point, right? So I want that to be a reference point and to kind of get an idea in accordance with that. So I'm not going to get into too much in the technical specifics. I will just give you high level and tell you what you would need if you need this, if you want to use this specific microphone. This is tremendous value. This mic's going to cost you about $100, which is great. Specifically when you consider the fact, and I know I kind of have thrown shade at Blue before, but I see too many people using like a Blue Snowball or specifically the Blue Yeti. Here's the problem. This is one of the reasons why I don't like those microphones, or I don't like the Yeti in comparison to something like this or something like Audio-Technica for an entry-level microphone. It's like when you stay at a hotel versus when you stay at an Airbnb. You're paying for all the accommodations that the hotel provides, whether you actually use that or not. You're paying for the staff, you're paying for the pool, you're paying all of those various things you're paying for. When you go to the Airbnb, you might find that it's cheaper because they don't have the traditional overhead that they have to carry that a hotel has to carry. Something like the Yeti, it's somewhat similar to that in that it has a lot of different features and functions and stuff like that that you probably won't use unless you're using it in that capacity, unless you actually need the ability to put it in the middle of a table at for a conference and to use it to where it picks up voices in a 360-degree radius. With something like this, you're talking directly into it. It's not going to work in that capacity. I can't just sit in the middle of the table, and it probably won't work to that degree, right? But if you're using it to record a podcast, you're kind of paying for things you don't need with the Yeti. And so for me, you want something that is a dynamic microphone that's made specifically for voice. That's exactly what this microphone is. Shure makes a tremendous product. And also one of the things that I really like that I think is something you should absolutely consider is the fact that the reason I have two microphones, the reason I have the SM7B and we have two SM58s is because I use this for my in-person interviews with this basic just mic stand, which you can see here. And I'll give you guys some close-ups of these as well. And that way I can just, like your traditional microphone, like if somebody was hosting an event, you just pop it on and you pop it off, right? And so that way you could get one that's tall if you're actually hosting an event, or you could do it like I'm doing now, which is you're just holding it in your hand and actually recording it as such. So you could do an interview if you can just do a microphone, and as you interview your guests, you just put the microphone in front of their face and bring it back in front of your face. You could put it on the stand. You could do a round table kind of thing where you have, a little stool or whatever next to you and you guys are talking. You could do it that way. So there's a lot of different ways that I use this. And to me, it's a sleek and very small microphone that I can just pop off my XLR cable and try, wrap it up and put it in a bag and take the two microphones. And I'm good. And all I need is now a recording device to be able to capture those files, which I can get here. Just as this is a Zoom H4n, so it has two XLR inputs on it. And you're going to basically just make sure that your levels and your gain and stuff like that is fine, which takes a little bit of practice, and I'll have another video on that. So make sure you guys subscribe for more stuff like this. But you're good, right? You do two different channels, and both those channels are set for that person's voice, and you're good to rock and roll. I will say this, quick pro tip. If you're going to do this, if you're going to use the Zoom H4n, one mistake that I've made is I used two different microphones, because before I had two SM58s, they require different levels of gain. And so what ended up happening is that my SM7B versus actually this microphone, what I realized is that the audio was way off. So I was like really silent versus the guest. I'll include that interview above so you can go listen to what I'm talking about. It just sounded horrible. He had to use the audio from the camera because it was that bad. So This is great for travel. This is great if you're going to do in-person stuff. And honestly, this is great if you're just going to be doing at home, want to get started, and you're going to have this, literally just this. You're going to have your mic stand, and you're just going to be sitting at a desk, and you don't want this big old mic arm and all these other things. Keep in mind, this is an XLR microphone, meaning you can't plug this directly into your computer in most cases, right, without an adapter. So there are particular adapters that you can buy. The one I'm thinking of specifically is called a Blue, like Blue Yeti, but Blue has a product called the Icicle, and that actually will help you convert an XLR transmission into USB so you can plug directly into your computer. It's probably like $50. So all in all for this, you know, you're buying your little pop filter that fits over the microphone, which is super cheap. And your cable, you're probably looking at like $150 to $170 total out the door, and you'll have a product like this. Don't forget though, you are going to have the mount as well. You'll have to have the mic stand as well. So I would say sub $200, you could have a really awesome setup that you could use for a very, very long time. And then when you go off, if you're doing interviews and you do want to get the SM7B, then you can use this one for your in-person interviews, right? Once you're to a capacity where you're actually doing that, if that's ever the plan for you to do in-person interviews, you've got a perfect setup to do so. Or even if you don't do interviews with other people, this is a great one to travel with. I don't like traveling with the SM7B. Not that I can't do it, but it's really that it's just kind of a pain in the butt. Like once I get this configuration all set up, meaning my mic arm is all hooked up and my cables are all hooked up and I've got it plugged into my Rodecaster Pro and everything is configured, I don't like taking it apart because I've got it hooked up with my cloud lifter, which by the way, I'm going through a cloud lifter right now. So something really important to note, and I'll include that below. I talked about on my previous video, I am going through a cloud lifter right now. This is not direct to my Rodecaster. This is through a cloud lifter first. Which is really, really important. If you don't know what a cloud lifter is, you definitely need to look that up. It basically helps you regulate the gain because some of these microphones are gain monsters, so it helps you kind of level that out so it doesn't require as much gain is what it does. But anyways, I don't like taking this off because if I'm traveling, it's just a pain in the butt. And maybe it's just me being lazy, but I really just like to kind of let it be and just keep it where it is and make sure that like this is my home microphone, right? So even if you don't do interviews, even if you just do solo episodes, having this microphone and being able to just toss in a bag and go, to me, is a lot easier, right? You just take this off and this mic stand, you just pop these screws off the top from the base, and you throw the microphone, you put it in, you get a little pouch for it or whatever, and just throw it in there and you just rock and roll, whether that's one or two microphones, and take an XLR cable with you with your USB converter from the XLR, and you plug into a laptop and you're good to rock and roll, right? And you can record wherever, which is the beauty of podcasting, is that you have the ability to be able to do those various aspects of things, right? To be able to just do wherever you are with no camera included. The only other thing you may be able to do, and if you're doing a video podcast, this is important to note, is that some cameras, specifically some of the newer cameras, so if you're going to buy a camera and do what I'm doing here, which is a video podcast, you will be able to go XLR directly into your camera. All right, so you won't have to do what I'm doing now at home, which is XLR through the cloud lifter, another XLR cable into the Rodecaster USB into my Aurora R9 computer, Alienware computer. So that there's a lot of stuff going a lot of different places here. Now I could make it more simplistic. My wife does this, so she'll run it through. She actually has an H6N, not the H4N, which basically it's just a more advanced product, and it gives you a few more XLR ports that you can plug into. I think it gives you 6 instead of 2. I like it better. I actually do recommend making the additional upgrade for a variety of reasons. I think it's a lot easier to adjust your settings than on the H4N. You have, to me, the knobs on the front are a lot easier to manipulate than figuring out all the button configuration on the H4N or the H1N. So I would recommend it if it's within your budget. But you could use this specifically. She plugs it into her computer, so it has a continuous power source, the H6N, and then she'll plug in through her microphone through the XLR directly into the recording device, which then goes directly to her computer. And she could actually be recording a local file on the H6N while the H6N is actually plugged in the computer, and she could be recording on her computer as well, so she has a backup. So I think that's a really good way to do it, and you don't need this big Rodecaster Pro, which is really expensive, over $500, and you can still get away with XLR and get XLR quality on your recording device like your H6N without having to run through the USB converter, which probably, it's still going to sound good, but it's probably going to downgrade your audio quality maybe more than what it would be otherwise. So, all right, that's it as far as specifications. Now, let me give you this. Since you've been listening to this this is the SM58. So let me give you a quick sound comparison before I let you go, just so you can hear what the difference sounds like. You can make a decision and kind of see what a $400 microphone sounds like from Shure versus what their maybe more entry-level $100-something microphone sounds like. So quick pause, and I'll let you listen to that. All right, so we are back out on the SM7B now. So this is what it sounds like. Obviously, you can see I have it hooked up into my Rode PSA-1, which is my mic arm, and the same setup. It's the exact same. The only thing I did was I unplugged my XLR microphone from the SM58 into the SM7B, and that's all I did. I just hit record on the Rodecaster. So it was a quick, probably took me 30 seconds total to make that switch. And I didn't change any of the settings at all. Left the settings completely the same from the SM58 into the SM7B. Maybe could have modified it a little bit just to make sure that it was all right, but I wanted you to get a true sound comparison without changing any of the settings whatsoever, so you could have that for your perspective. All right, so I think you've got enough clips of this. If you want, I would recommend going back 30 seconds, listening to the SM58, coming back, listening to the SM7B. I'm just talking at this point so you can hear a true sound comparison, but I hope this gives you a little bit of an impression of what you get. I think it's a fantastic start to go with the SM58. I think it's fantastic. I think it has a lot of versatility. I think you're going to be very, very happy. Also, keep in mind, though, remember the XLR component. That's very, very important. The sound quality of XLR is much superior to your typical USB microphone, but just know that it does come with some nuances and specifics as it relates to how you're going to connect and transmit that signal to your recording device, whether that's a computer or whether that's a Rodecaster or whether that's an H6N, H4N, you're going to go direct to your camera. Whatever the case may be, just know that it's not as universal, so to speak, as what a USB or a mini USB is. So something to consider, something to make sure of, something to make sure you check off of your box. All right, guys, if you like this video, make sure to give me a like and a subscribe. So I'm going to be doing a lot of videos like this on podcasting specific, on microphones specifically. We're going to talk a lot about what I've done and how I've built my show with the podcast to be what it is and how we've gotten the guests that we've gotten on our show, which we've had some crazy, amazing mainstream guests on my channel like Damon John, Barbara Corcoran, Marie Forleo, Grant Cardone, Guy Kawasaki, Ryan Dice, Tucker Max, really awesome, amazing, 40+ New York Times bestselling authors, amazing people. And I'm going to give you some of my inside tips and secrets as to how we've used that platform to grow our brand, to make amazing connections, and to grow our audience and get more downloads. So that's something you're interested in, something you're looking at doing. If you're looking to start a podcast, we're going to be covering a lot of those things. So I'd love to have you subscribe and hit the bell for notifications for more videos just like this. And I will see you guys in the next one.